Welcome aboard the Rising Word Express, your ticket to an unforgettable literary journey through Japan's most beloved stories. Unlike our tranquil flights aboard the Rising Word Air, this series brings you vibrant audio dramas that immerse you in the heart of every tale.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your conductor, James Hollis, speaking. I'll be your guide on this literary journey aboard the Rising Word Express. It's my pleasure to take you through stories that have touched hearts across generations. Our next stop brings us into the heart of a timeless Japanese tale, Gon, the Fox. It's a story of kindness, regret, and the unexpected bonds that shape our lives. As we journey through this beautiful tale, let Gon's mischievous spirit remind you that even the smallest actions can carry great meaning. Prepare to step into a world where simple gestures speak louder than words. The train will be leaving shortly. This is a story I heard from an old man named Mohei when I was a child. A long time ago, near our village, there was a small castle in a place called Nakayama, where a feudal lord known as Nakayama-sama resided. In the mountains, a short distance from Nakayama, there lived a fox named Gon, known as Gon the Fox. Gon was a lonely little fox who made his home in a burrow dug in a forest thick with fern trees. Day or night, he would wander into the nearby villages to cause all sorts of mischief. He would dig up the fields, scattering sweet potatoes everywhere, set fire to drying stalks of rapeseed, or pluck red peppers hanging behind farmers' houses and carry them off. Gon was always up to something. One autumn, after several days of continuous rain, Gon sighed with relief as he crawled out of his burrow. The sky had cleared completely, and the cries of shrikes rang sharply in the air. Gon made his way to the embankment of a small stream in the village. The tips of the silver grass around him still glistened with raindrops. Normally the stream held little water, but the heavy rain over the past 3 days had swelled it considerably. Plants like silver grass and clumps of bush clover, which would normally remain dry along the riverbank, were now battered and submerged in the muddy yellow torrent. Suddenly, he noticed someone standing in the river, doing something. To avoid being seen, Gon crept carefully through the tall grass and peeked out.
Oh, it's Hyoju.
Hyoju had hitched up his ragged black kimono, wading into the water up to his waist as he worked with a fishing net called a harikiri. After some time, Hyoju lifted the bag-like end of the harikiri net from the water. Inside was a jumble of roots, leaves, and rotting wood, but among the debris a few silvery flashes caught the light. These were the bellies of slender eels and large kisu fish. Hyoju dumped both the fish and debris into his basket, retied the bag, and placed it back into the river. Hyoju then climbed out of the river, set his basket down on the embankment, and ran upstream, seemingly to fetch something. As soon as Hyoju disappeared, Gon sprang out of the grass and ran to the basket. A mischievous urge overcame him. Gon began pulling the fish out of the basket, one by one and tossing them into the river downstream of the fishing net. Each fish made a satisfying splash as it dove into the murky water. With a sharp squeal, the eel coiled tightly around Gon's neck. Finally, Gon reached for a fat eel. However, the eel was slippery and wriggled out of his grasp no matter how hard he tried. Frustrated, Gon shoved his head into the basket and bit down onto the eel's head.
"You thieving fox!"
Startled, Gon leapt into the air. He tried to shake off the eel and run, but it clung stubbornly to his neck. Panicking, Gon darted away at full speed, the eel still wrapped around him. When he reached a persimmon tree near his burrow, Gon glanced back to see that Hyoju wasn't chasing him. Relieved, he bit down on the eel's head, finally freeing himself. He placed the eel on a leaf outside his burrow and sat down to catch his breath. About 10 days later, as Gon was passing by the back of the farmhouse belonging to a farmer named Yasuke, he noticed Yasuke's wife in the shade of a fig tree, applying black dye to her teeth. When he walked past the blacksmith Shinbei's house, he saw Shinbei's wife combing her hair.
Something must be happening in the village. I wonder what it could be. Maybe it's an autumn festival. But if it were a festival, I'd hear drums and flutes. And besides, there would be banners raised at the shrine.
As these thoughts crossed his mind, Gon found himself standing in front of Hyoju's house, the one with the red well in the yard. Inside the small, dilapidated house, a large group of people had gathered. Women in their best clothes, with hand towels tucked into their sashes, were tending a fire outside. In a large pot over the fire, something was simmering away.
A funeral. I wonder who in Hyoju's family has died.
That afternoon, Gon went to the village cemetery and hid behind the statues of the 6 Jizo bodhisattvas. It was a beautiful day, and far in the distance, the tiled roof of the castle gleamed under the sun. The cemetery was dotted with red spider lilies, blooming like strips of scarlet cloth. From the direction of the village, the sound of a bell echoed, clang, clang, signaling the start of the funeral procession. Soon, Gon caught glimpses of people dressed in white, approaching the cemetery. The sound of their voices grew closer. The procession entered the cemetery, and wherever the people walked, the red spider lilies were trampled underfoot. Gon stretched up to see better. Hyoju, dressed in white ceremonial garments, carried the ancestral tablet. His usually cheerful, ruddy face now looked unusually somber and wilted.
It must be Hyoju's mother who has passed away.
Lowering his head, Gon withdrew back into the shadows. That night, back in his burrow, Gon reflected deeply.
Hyoju's mother must have been bedridden and asked for eel to eat. That's why Hyoju brought out the harakiri net to catch some. But I played that silly prank and stole the eel. Because of that, Hyoju wasn't able to give the eel to his mother. She must have died longing for it, thinking, I want to eat eel just once more.
Regret washed over Gon.
If only I hadn't done such a foolish thing.
Hyoju was at the red well, washing barley. Until now, Hyoju had lived a poor life with just his mother. With her gone, he was now entirely alone.
Hyoju is just like me, alone in the world.
As Gon watched from behind the storage shed, he couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness.
Fresh sardines for sale. Cheap sardines, fresh and shiny.
Gon ran toward the lively voice and saw Yasuke's wife at the back door of her house.
Give me some sardines.
The sardine seller, having parked his cart filled with a basket of glistening fish by the roadside, scooped up a handful with both hands and carried them inside Yasuke's house. Taking advantage of the moment, Gon darted to the basket, grabbed 5 or 6 sardines, and ran back the way he had come. At the back entrance of Hyoju's house, Gon threw the sardines into the kitchen and dashed back to his burrow. At the top of the hill on his way back, Gon turned around to look. From afar, he could see Hyoju, still at the well, washing barley.
Now I've done something good to make up for the eel.
The next day, Gon gathered a pile of chestnuts from the mountains and carried them to Hyoju's house. Peeking through the back door, Gon saw Hyoju eating his midday meal, holding a rice bowl in his hand, but staring blankly into space. Gon noticed something strange. There was a scratch on Hyoju's cheek.
I wonder what happened.
Just then, Hyoju muttered to himself.
Who on earth threw those sardines into my house? Because of that, the sardine seller thought I stole them, and I got beaten up pretty badly.
Gon's heart sank.
Oh no, this is terrible. Poor Hyoju. He was accused of stealing and got hit so hard he even has a scratch on his face.
Feeling guilty, Gon quietly circled around to the storage shed and left the chestnuts at the entrance before returning to his burrow. The next day, and the day after that, Gon collected chestnuts and brought them to Hyoju's house. On the third day, along with chestnuts, he also brought 2 or 3 matsutake mushrooms. It was a beautiful moonlit evening. Gon wandered out for a stroll. After passing beneath the castle of Lord Nakayama, he walked a little farther when he noticed someone approaching from the narrow path ahead. He could hear voices talking, while the chirping of pine crickets, chinchiro rin, filled the night air. Gon hid on the side of the road and waited quietly. The voices grew closer. It was Hyoju and another farmer named Kasuke.
You know, Kasuke,
What is it?
something really strange has been happening to me lately.
What's that?
Ever since my mother died, someone's been leaving chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms for me every day. I have no idea who it is.
Really? Who could it be?
I don't know. They leave them without me noticing.
Gon followed quietly behind the 2 men.
Is that true?
It's true, I swear. If you don't believe me, come by tomorrow and I'll show you the chestnuts.
Huh, that's odd. Strange things do happen, don't they?
With that, the 2 men fell silent and continued walking. At one point, Kasuke glanced back. Gon froze, shrinking into himself and standing still. Kasuke didn't notice him and kept walking. When the men reached the house of another farmer, Kichibi, they entered. Pon, 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 the sound of a wooden temple bell echoed from inside. Light from a lamp shone through the papered windows, casting the shadow of a large, shaved head that moved as it shifted.
They must be holding a Buddhist memorial service.
After a while, 3 more people arrived together and entered Kichibi's house. Gon could hear the sound of sutras being chanted from within. After a while, 3 more people arrived together and entered Kichibi's house. Gon could hear the sound of sutras being chanted from within. Gon stayed crouched by the well until the Buddhist memorial service ended. Hyoju and Kasuke walked home together again, and Gon decided to follow them to listen to their conversation. He stepped lightly on Hyoju's shadow as he trailed behind.
About what you said earlier, I've been thinking. It must be the work of a god.
A god?
I've been mulling it over, and it doesn't seem like something a person would do. It must be a god. The gods must have taken pity on you, being all alone now, and decided to bless you with these gifts.
Do you really think so?
Absolutely. That's why you should say thank you to the gods every day.
I suppose you're right.
Hearing this, Gon thought to himself, well, that's disappointing. I've been the one bringing him chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms, and instead of thanking me, he's thanking the gods. This doesn't seem fair at all. The next day, Gon brought more chestnuts to Hyoju's house. Hyoju was in the storage shed, braiding rope. Taking advantage of the moment, Gon quietly snuck into the house through the back entrance. Just then, Hyoju happened to look up. He caught sight of the fox entering his home.
That Gon the fox. He's the one who stole my eel the other day, and now he's back to cause more trouble.
All right, Hyoju muttered. He stood up, grabbed the matchlock rifle hanging in the shed, and loaded it with gunpowder. Silently, he crept closer. Just as Gon was about to step out the doorway, Hyoju fired. Gon collapsed with a thud. Hyoju rushed over. Inside the house, something caught his eye. On the dirt floor, neatly piled, were chestnuts.
What?
Hyoju exclaimed in shock. He turned his gaze to Gon, lying limp on the ground.
Gon. So it was you. You were the one bringing me chestnuts all this time.
Gon, his eyes closed and his body motionless, gave a small, faint nod. Hyoju let the rifle drop to the ground with a clatter. A thin trail of blue smoke still curled from the barrel. So, dear passengers, what have you taken away from this story? Did it stir a thought, a feeling, or a memory within you? We're now approaching our next station, where a new journey awaits. But before we embark on the next chapter, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and ensure you never miss a literary adventure. Thank you for traveling with the Rising Word Express. The next tale is just around the bend.